of June. The NBA's king is dead. The NBA is new, different, with all sorts of stars, and the Jazz have a few of them. What does it mean for the Western Conference with the Lakers out? The Clippers and the Mavericks go tonight. What are we looking for? And Mike Conley's hamstring. We'll all break those things down, look at them, and continue. It's Locked on Jazz. Pow! How are you? I'm David Locke, radio voice for Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA Insider. This is Locked on Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. We are live today on Instagram at DLock09. We are live on Twitch at Locked on Live. We are live on YouTube. I believe at both Locked on Live and David Locke. We are live on Facebook at David Locke. So thanks very much for jumping in. Happy Friday to Josh, who just said hi, hello from Sweden as well. So thanks for saying hi. I'm going to try to bump something up here on the Instagram feed because I don't think I'm going to be able to see what the Instagram feed say if I don't. There we go. All right. So you're shooting a little bit at the ceiling, but I'm glad to have you all involved. All right. The king is dead. It has happened. The Lakers are out. The king is dead. LeBron James and the Lakers, the biggest fear anyone had in this whole run is the Anthony Davis, LeBron James, length, defense. It's gone. Here's the craziest thing about what's happened here in the playoffs. If you look at the regular season, of the 9 teams that are left in the playoffs right now, so that includes both the Clippers and the Mavericks. The number 1 seed, here are the seeds that are remaining. Or here are the differential of the teams remaining. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, and 12. Like, the idea that the regular season means nothing and that we are just heading to the playoffs, which was what we were all kind of caught up in this idea that, well, whatever happened in the regular season doesn't matter, and the Lakers will just click in, and the Clippers will, who were the number 2 differential. So, that would be the real stunner here. The stunner would be if the Mavericks win tonight and the Clippers go out, much more than it's a stunner if the Lakers went out. The Lakers weren't right most of the year. They were injured all year. They never got together. They never had a rhythm. They never put their team together. They never played with Andre Drummond. And then Anthony Davis got hurt. And their offense was never that good. In fact, I still kind of stick to what I said last year, which is that I wondered what would happen if they ever played a good defensive team, and they never did. And I think it would be ignorant on our end if we didn't admit that there does seem to be an impact for the teams that had the shortest off seasons. So of the final 4 teams that were still playing in the bubble, Miami, Boston, Lakers, and Denver, incredibly, Denver is the last one left. Denver, who I actually had right before the Jamal Murray injury as the favorite to win the West, still alive in the playoffs, despite the fact that they are without Jamal Murray, they've been without Will Barton. Is an incredible tribute to both Nikola Jokic and Mike Malone and the culture around that team. They just simply won't lose. Here's some crazy numbers for you. We have had Steph or LeBron in the finals since 2010. We've had the Lakers, Warriors, or LeBron in the finals since 2006. Of the teams remaining, the last title that anyone has won was 2011 against Dallas. And it's been 28 years since anyone other than Dallas won the title. If the Clippers pull this thing off, we'd have a team that would be crowned the champion at the end of this year for the first time in 28 years. And you go to the Bucks, you've got Lou Alcindor, Oscar Robertson. You go to the 76ers, you got Allen Iverson as their last run. You go to the Nets, they've never had a run. You go to the Hawks, they've never had a run. You go to the Jazz, their last run was Stockton Malone. You go to Denver, they've never been to the finals. You go to the Clippers, they've never been to the finals. You go to the Suns, you're going back to Charles Barkley, Kevin Johnson, and their finals run against Jordan. And have I got it wrong? Did I forget the West team? I feel like I forgot a West team on that. But Incredible. Absolutely incredible. The new NBA has arrived, and it's fine. It is Luka, Trae Young, and by the way, the old NBA is going to come back. Like LeBron will have another run. Anthony Davis is not ancient. They'll have another run. The Clippers lose tonight. It gets pretty interesting. But the league's got Luka, Trae Young, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Devin Booker, sick last night, Donovan Mitchell, sick in the playoffs, James Harden, Ben Simmons, Rudy Gobert, Kawhi Leonard, and Paul George. We're not starless. The league's deeper than it's ever been. And the league's deeper, 9 through 12 as well, but it's star-filled. It's an offensive game. The interesting thing, by the way, of what the league has done that I don't think has gotten enough credit or enough discussion, with the rule changes that the league has made where offensive players have more freedom, more offensive players can be amazing, leading us to believe we have more stars because we equate scoring with stars, which allows us to suddenly get to this point in which we can have this litany of stars available. The other thing that the league has done is by opening up the game, spreading the game, getting away from the boring old post-up, you create Lukas, you create Nikola Jokic's. It's a generation of players who came up watching, Kobe watched Michael watched Magic, and it all has melded into these incredible Giannis's and Lukas and Kevin Durant, who's 7-1, and I'm forgetting someone I wanted to say, right? Nikola Jokic, sorry, that was like the most obvious, the MVP, into this different game with different stars and different players than we've ever seen before. And it's pretty awesome. And it's wild. So that's the big thing. From the Jazz standpoint, the door is wide open. Phoenix is good. Would be, if we run through the list, Dallas would be a bore. Luka Doncic is amazing. They're not great defensively. We should be able to figure out a team that's coming at you. There's an advantage over a 7-game series. Watch this tonight with the Clippers. If you know how a team is coming at you each and every time, over a 7-game series, you should be able to start to understand it and react to it. That's what the Rockets' problem always was with James Harden. So as much as there's this amazing number out there about Luka the other night and how many rebounds or points he assisted or scored, it's beginning to be a sign that Dallas is coming in one way every single time, and you know it, and the Clippers should be able to get used to it. The Jazz should get used to that in a series. I'm rooting for Dallas tonight. If you're wondering, I'm rooting for Dallas tonight. Get us the game on Sunday at 1:30 with a massive time advantage. Dallas just statistically is not as good as the Clippers were, and for that reason. The Clippers would be a bore for us because if they plug in defensively, I don't know what we do, and particularly if we don't have Mike Conley. Frankly, against Dallas, not having Mike Conley might not be as painful as it would be otherwise. Joe's got to play. He's got to play like he does when he's a starter. He's got to play like he does as the backup point guard in that series, and hopefully his days off get him back and get his mind straight. He just looked totally out of sorts. But I think against Dallas, when they're starting, if they start Brunson and you're putting Conley on Brunson and Brunson's big and physical, he's not overwhelming. But if they go bigger and they've got Richardson and they got Finney-Smith and they got Luka and they got Porzingis and they play Dwight Powell, now Josh Richardson's your smallest player. That's a tough matchup for Mike at 6'1", when you already have Donovan at 6'1" on the floor. And if you have Donovan and Mike on the floor at 6'1", and they're going Brunson, Luka, Finney-Smith, Tim Hardaway Jr., now Don's guarding Tim Hardaway Jr., and Mike's guarding Brunson, that matchups, and Royce is on Luka, those matchups actually get, a little tough. The Clippers, we have a similar problem, frankly. The Clippers, though they're playing a little funky, they're playing Reggie Jackson, Nicholas Batum. I go put Dom and Nicholas Batum. I put Mike on Reggie Jackson. And then Boyan's got to handle either Kawhi Leonard or Paul George. That's a big problem, but Rudy can hang around, try to hang around and force Marcus Morris to hit a bunch of threes. He hits 50%. That's a problem. These teams are going to be brutally difficult. Brutally difficult. The Lakers theory, the Clippers there scares me more. What I just designed is Boyan guarding either Royce or Paul George or Kawhi Leonard is problematic to me. And the fact that on the defensive end, They're now can send Kawhi Leonard at Donovan, Paul George at Joe Ingles, and Mike Conley that has to play and be great, and he's coming off a hamstring. So, or they send Paul George at Donovan and Kawhi Leonard at Bojan Bogdanovic, and then Jordan Clarkson has to play. We have to have all three of them on the floor. Jordan Clarkson certainly can play, but that's a much more difficult matchup to me. When we come down the floor offensively against Dallas, I think we'll be able to get stuff even without Mike Conley. I think Joe could have an awesome series. So I'm rooting for Dallas this week. We'll talk about Phoenix and Denver. God, Denver's amazing. We'll take your questions. It is a Friday edition of Locked On Jazz. We're doing it live for you today, so we'll get all your questions. I've seen something. Hey, by the way, honey, I lost a bet. We owe Ron Boone Seabass. All right. Okay. Just thought I'd let you know. I'm good. I'm good to my word if you were listening to the broadcast the other night. I don't actually think I lost the bet. I think Ron Boone just kind of somehow got Seabass out of you, just to let you know. I got to hold a little pride here. All right, it is Locked On Jazz Friday edition. Have some fun. Thanks, Mike, for dropping in that note on YouTube. And we will get Ron Boone his Seabass. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Murdoch Hyundai, located at 4646 South State Street, also in Logan and in Linden. I think we had 2 people this week. We gave the VIP treatment over at Murdoch. So if you're looking for a car and you're in the market this weekend and you're going to head around, you can go look at everything. But do me this. Go take a look while you're at it and see take a moment and look at the Hyundais that are out there. If you're looking for the SUVs, the little one is the Kona, then the Tucson. You've seen probably a bunch of those commercials during the, I think some NBA games and some other stuff I've seen recently. Then there's the Santa Fe. We've got 2 of those. The Palisade is absolutely fabulous. I was driving behind one last night just with envy. I'm driving the Hyundai, the car of the year, which is the Hyundai Elantra. The one I'm driving right now is a $26,000 car, and it's absolutely fabulous. You can get them as low as $20,000. It's a sedan. It's got every bell. It's got every whistle, and it's not surprising to me why the Hyundai Elantra won the North American Car of the Year. Beautiful sedan, 4-door, everything you need. So go check it out. It's all at Murdoch Hyundai, 4646 South State Street. All right, I was going to do this in the next segment, but I got to do it now. Let's go check it out. Let's go. We're going to go check out the lines and see what betonline.ag has to say. I was going to wait on this one, but we need to find out. What are the odds right now? Here we go. NBA futures to win the Western Conference. The Utah Jazz are plus 125. The Phoenix Suns are plus 200. The Clippers are plus 650. The Nuggets are plus 800, and the Dallas Mavericks are plus 1,000. So I guess we would really rather play Dallas. They're plus 1,000. Utah's plus 125, the odds-on favorite to win the Western Conference, according to betonline.ag. Fire up! Doesn't do us anything, but it's the best we got. To win the NBA championship, the Brooklyn Nets are plus 160. The Jazz are plus 325. The Bucks are plus 625. That series is much. We've got a lot of must-watch TV coming. Phoenix plus 650. Clippers plus 1,000. 76ers plus 1,000. And the Nuggets plus 1,800. Dallas plus 2,200. And Atlanta plus. So we really, really legitimately have 7-8 teams that the odds makers think have a legitimate chance to win the NBA championship. And we've got 7 teams that have a legitimate chance to make the NBA finals. 8 teams to make. I mean, that's incredible. This is where the league is vastly different than it's been. By the way, here's the schedule coming up. Clippers and Denver are tonight. We want to watch that one. It starts at 7 o'clock our time. And then 7:30 is tomorrow is Milwaukee against Brooklyn. And then Sunday, if the Dallas wins tonight, we play at 3:30. Tickets are available at utahjazz.com. The line today is the Clippers are a 2.5 favorite in Denver. Wow. All right. One other big kind of note that was out there. I said I was going to talk about one other thing. Now I don't remember it anymore. one other thing last night, a few things left over from last night. Denver drops 40, goes on a 44-20 run last night in the final 16 minutes. They just don't go away. They're just, Denver's, I'm so wildly impressed. Devin Booker, 77 points in the last 2 games on 45 shots. The efficiency rate of the star offensive players in this league is incredible. And then Dame Lillard with the Nipsey Hussle quote after the game, how long should I stay dedicated? How long to opportunity meets preparation? A little loaded right there. All right, let's get to your questions, your comments on Instagram. Do we want Dallas to win tonight or Clips to force Game 7 so they make sure they rest? I know what you said about the quick turnaround to play on Sunday. What's more important? So, you know what? There's a lot of things that are important here. So, one is Mike Conley's hamstring. The advantage of them going Game 7 is we get Mike Conley ready sooner. I don't know the severity of the Mike Conley injury. If it's the same as what it has been, frankly, you know, if he's following the same pattern of every other time he's been pulled out of the game for this, and it's another 12 or 14 days, it doesn't really matter. Like, it doesn't matter. Then let's go play Dallas short before they have time to prepare, and I'd rather play Dallas, so let's do it on a super short turnaround when they've had more fatigue. So, you know, I think that's my quick take on it. I'm assuming we're going to go for a little while without Mike Conley, and if it's 14 days, it's the entire series. And we have a better chance of beating the Mavericks without Mike Conley than we do beating we have to beat the Clippers switching 1 through 5 with guys we can't beat one-on-one without Mike Conley. It's going to be really, it will be very difficult. Do other teams do something to stop our amazing ball movement, or do we just stop doing it because we're so much better when the ball moves? It's a great question. Teams do things to stop it. Phoenix gets in on our wings, top blocks our actions, doesn't let our guys come to the ball. A lot of teams switch 1 through 5, which stops ball movement because people aren't open and forces you to go one-on-one. It's when teams play the traditional drop big that we generally have our best offense against. Here's our offensive ratings so far this year against the teams, the 2 teams we might play. Against Dallas, first game we had a 117 offensive rating, our 38th best offensive game of the year. In our next game, we had a 124, which was our 11th best offensive game of the year. And let me see if I can, and I have to just kind of find our third game against Dallas, which is eluding me right now. Let me see if I can do a quick search here. Give me 1 second. I wasn't planning on doing this, but you made me think that. Phoenix is, of all the teams that are left in the playoffs, Phoenix has stymied us, and the Clippers have stymied us offensively a little bit. So those are a tough matchup for us, and I'll have to just find Dallas. So those were the 2 Dallas games. We weren't bothered by them nearly as much. Here's against Phoenix, we had a 98.6, our 73rd ranked offensive game of the year. Against the Clippers in the 5th game of the year, we were 110 for our 54th offensive game of the year. That's not so great. Against Denver, we had a 116, which was our 42nd offensive game of the year. So right in the middle. Here's the 2 Dallas games. 117 for our 38th. Dallas, 124 for our 11th. Then we played Denver, 120 for our 20th. We lost that game. And then we played back-to-back against the Clippers. We had a 111 for our 52nd offensive game of the year and a 112 for our 49th offensive game of the year. So the Clippers, we did not have very good offensive success. This is leading you even more to rooting for Dallas tonight. And against Phoenix, we did not have very good offensive success. Dallas, our other time we played them, they stymied us a little bit. We lost by 8. We were a 111.1 for a -8 on April 5th in Dallas. And then we went to Phoenix and had our 74th game. Phoenix is problematic. Phoenix, we had our 74th and our 73rd offensive games of the year in a season in which we've played 77 games. So that's problematic. Phoenix would be a real problem for us. All right. I always love these when they start like this. Let me preface this by saying I'm a big Joe Ingles fan. But I seem to recall Ingles having a track record of being a non-factor in the last playoffs. Am I wrong? No, Joe does not have a great playoff track record. He was not good against Houston. He's talked a lot about how he then changed. They forced him right, and he changed and learned that long right-hand dribble. Last year against Denver, his role changed a little bit because of the fact that Boyan was out and he was okay. His numbers were actually pretty good. The impact, I think, was, was out there. It was not as probably what we expect out of Joe when he's really rolling. So I think, I think that's we need Joe. Like whether you're trying to preface it or whatever, particularly with Mike out, we're desperately going to need a very good, active, engaged Joe Ingles in this playoff series. Cody, good morning. Told you that Memphis would be good for Donovan rest and a win in 5. I don't think we rested Donovan, but Michael, will Rudy bring back the salute this playoffs? No, probably not unless we win the title. Nuggets fan here says, CJ, can't wait until we see again in the Western Conference Finals. Well, honestly, with 110% respect to Denver and oodles and respect to Denver and MVP to Jokic and 100% on board and wowed by the tenacity of that team. Rather play Denver than Phoenix. Unless Chris Paul, is going to wear it out. Brandon, do we have a medical staff problem? You brought up Conley's injuries plus the Don having his own medical staff is not a strange thing in this league. That's just, it's not. Like, these guys are like multi-million-dollar like entities. And like, if I was a player and let's just take Donovan, right? So Donovan just signed, what, $150 million contract with a $300 million contract down the road. So I would have my own, that's an R&D investment for me if I'm a player. Like, I would have my own chef. I would have my own trainer. I would have my own medical people around. Like, I would want people that know my body and only work on me. I'm worth $350 million. Like, so I spend, I hire my own personal chef and pay him $100,000, and I pay a trainer $100,000, and I have a medical team through my agency that's available for me, and probably doesn't cost me anything because I'm making them whatever. It's pittance. It's pittance. I mean, you hear the stories about LeBron spending $3 million on his body. Yeah, I guess it's 10%. So what? 10% R&D. Like, it seems, and if it got him an extra year, totally worth it. So I think that is. I find that part of the story not that surprising. And so, I think that, we've worked, Dennis Lindsay has hired Mike Elliott from Phoenix, which was renowned as one of the best medical staffs in the league, and put these guys together. Eric Waters was out for a year, but it was Washington before that. They've brought together the best medical staff they can build, and the medical's hard. So, but I think, you've seen a pretty good track record on all that. But I mean, that bigger picture, the idea that someone's using someone, like, I'm certain Rudy has his own people. Like, he's got it. He's like, he's a $50 million whatever. Like, so, we'll see. Cody says, I hope the Mavs win to get Conley a few more days, but historically, Jazz are not great after a long break. Take game 1 for the Grizzlies. Donovan's really the one, by the way. Donovan is much better the more frequently he plays. I think you hope the Clips win. But the Donovan is the one who, with less rest, gets better, actually. I think that's it. Just so I want to let everyone know that there's somebody out there. Kevin says he digs it when I do stats and numbers. So hopefully I don't often have to do what I did there, as I'm going to look for them. Do we anticipate teams doing what Phoenix did to our wings? And you have to have the personnel to be able to do what Phoenix did to us. This was from Instagram. Phoenix has Mikal Bridges and Jay Crowder, and they can sit on the outside and get super physical and get body up on us. You have to have that personnel. The Clippers have that personnel, and Dallas doesn't. And this week, Luka is incredible, and you're in the semifinals. You're not going to have an easy game. But I think, the only reason you would say that you'd rather play the Clippers than the Mavericks is because there's still just something not quite right about the Clippers. Like, you can just see them out there. They're not quite right. And they're not the Clipper team that with Serge Ibaka and Luke Kennard that I thought they were going to be. But they still have those primary guys, and they'd still be a step away. And the door's wide open to them. If teams aren't just – the door is wide open to everyone. We are going to see incredible blowout effort from every single, not we wouldn't otherwise in the playoffs, but you have to be, if you're Donovan Mitchell and you're Rudy Gobert and you're Nikola Jokic and you're Kawhi Leonard, you have to be sitting around thinking, oh my gosh, this is all here. You have to be thinking that the Michelob Ultra road to the finals is something you can't imagine. And today's road to the finals brought to you by Michelob Ultra. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. 2.6 carbs, 95 calories. We can all enjoy the games a little bit more this season with Michelob Ultra. Today's show is also brought to you by your Ultra Moment of the Week. What is our Ultra Moment of the Week? It has to be Donovan Mitchell powering the three on the right side over Dillon Brooks and then having a few words for him along the way. That has to be our Ultra Moment from the playoffs. The joy that it brought every Jazz fan in the world in seeing Donovan Mitchell bury one. The happiness it brought Donovan Mitchell and the enjoyment in the crowd overall. That's what Michelob brings you. That's our Ultra Michelob Moment of the Week. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Only 2.6 carbs, 95 calories. Joy creates success. Enjoyment isn't the end game. It's the whole game. It's Michelob Ultra's Ultra Moment of the Week. If you got a different Ultra Moment you want to send me a little tweet and hashtag it Ultra Moment and let me know if you've got a different Ultra Moment of the Week in the Jazz playoff run over the Memphis Grizzlies for our Michelob Ultra Player of the Week. And today's show is also brought to you by Built Bar. The grasshopper cookie is out, floating around my house. It's the secret new flavor. I revealed it. I don't know if I was supposed to. It's not out yet, but it's pretty good. 100% real chocolate, 100% guilt-free. 9 basic flavors for you that are all amazing. Coconut almond, mint brownie, salted caramel, raspberry, peanut butter brownie, coconut, double chocolate, cookies and cream, and cherry barcia. You can either get a mixed bag, 2 flavors of each, or you can build your own box, mix and match 3 flavors. And with the promo code LOCK15, you can get 15% off. They also have Built Bites, Built Boost, Built Go, and Built Broth, a brand new website as well, as I'm on it right now. Built Bars have 130 calories, 2.5 fat grams, 4 net carbs, 4 grams of sugars, and just 17 grams of protein. Built Bar is the best protein bar out there, and it tastes like a candy bar. So really, when you start comparing it to like a Snickers, you're getting 4 grams of sugar instead of 29. You're getting 17 grams of protein instead of just 4. If you compare it to a leading bar, you're getting about the same amount of protein, but instead of getting 17 grams of sugar, you're only getting 4. It's BuiltBar.com. Go check it out. Promo code's LOCKED15, and you get 15% off. All right, let's continue. Oh, one of my favorites, Stacey Romney. This is the first NBA playoffs since 2006 without Kobe, LeBron, or Steph. I'm excited for the next generation of superstars, including Donovan and Rudy. Thoughts? I mean, I think the league, as I opened up the show today, saying the league has made rule changes that are allowing these players to thrive and allowing us to see all sorts of different players. And I think that's what makes this so absolutely special and fabulous. All right, let's run through. I think Randy Chipman of the Chippy Awards just stopped by the show. So special shout out. Good podcast supporter. Sorry, I'm trying to run through the Instagram questions and see what we got. Hello to Sweden, who checked in today. George Yang's probably at practice. We didn't get our regular George Yang stop by today. A lot of good mornings. What's up? Say goodbye to the bubble champs. Goodbye, LeBron. This is a Locked on NBA today. The most incredible stat: the Denver backcourt versus the Portland backcourt, and Denver won. Yeah, what Denver just pulled off. I always feel like if we're as Jazz fans, we're always kind of saying "Oh, I want more pub, I want more recognition." Take a minute, and recognize Denver, right? If we're going to ask for it for ourselves, we got to give it to everybody else when they deserve it. What they did is unbelievable. Hello to Norway. A lot of people want to meet Joe Ingles. The new NBA has arrived, even though select national guys are going kicking and screaming. A lot of questions about Conley. You could decide that you want to push it to Game 7. I think if you get Game 7, you're getting the Clippers, though. If the Clippers win today, I think they win Game 7 at home. Game 7 are there. What are the chances Dame Lillard leaves Portland? I don't know. Those seem to be increasing. He's certainly given everything. He's been loyal. If he asked to leave, nobody would blame him at this point. It's not something I think, the Jazz have to trade Donovan or Rudy. Like we can't. I don't think we have a mechanism to add that salary into our, the dream of adding Dame to the Jazz. I don't know how you would be able to build that dream team. It'd be an interesting concept, though, also just on possessions. But that would be, and defense, but that would be something outrageous. I love that question from Benjamin on ball movement. Yeah, styles of defense impact us greatly. So we're really, really good against the drop big. We've gotten better against the switch, but our ball movement changes. And then there's the teams that just get super physical on the wings and hug to our shooters. And those were the ones that gave us kind of the most problem this last year along the way. Zach Lambert stops by. Besides Luka, is Porzingis the biggest issue for the Jazz versus the Mavs, or is it something else? I think Porzingis is kind of an anomaly. One, you just don't know what you're getting out of him every day. Two, he does stretch the floor and play on the outside as a three-point shooter, which, makes it a little difficult. I think Dallas has great versatility, and that would probably be the bigger issue with Dallas. I mean, they just have kind of the ability to be physical on the guard line with Jalen Brunson. Tim Hardaway Jr. is a pretty bona fide scorer. With Maxi Kleber and Dwight Powell can play the 5 and pull you outside a little bit. I actually think Maxi Kleber might be a bigger problem. The second half shooting of Dorian Finney-Smith means you probably can't just leave him out, on the wing anymore like they did earlier this year. So I think those are, that's a difficult one. Finney-Smith, I think this year, crazy number, but it did something like shot 60% in the 60% in the clutch from 3, right? So you're late in the game. You're going to leave Luka. You're going to leave to deal with Luka. You're going to leave Finney-Smith. And then Finney-Smith hit like 60% of his clutch threes. It'd be like if Royce did that. So that suddenly becomes, they're offensively, they're one of the great offensive teams that have ever been put together. And so they're a problem universally across the board. Porzingis' three-point shooting this year was at 37%, and so maybe that's the least of your worries. Kleber's at 47% if they're playing him so far in the – those are playoff numbers. If you're suddenly leaving him in the playoffs, that's a big problem. Kleber was 41% in the regular. Porzingis was 38%. Luka's their worst three-point shooter, 35%. I mean, Josh Richardson, maybe you leave at 30 and can't leave Finney-Smith anymore because he went up to 39%. I mean, they're just tough to guard in every way. The fact that they don't have the defensive answers is probably why you'd rather play them. Andy, if Conley can't go game 1, who fills in his minutes? Stretch Joe's minutes and a few Oni minutes. I would guess you're going to split Joe and Donovan as all the point guard minutes at that point. Maybe Mia Oni, but I might not. I think you're just going to stretch their minutes. I think you're Mia Oni's second half of the season and his foul issues as of late are not, and it's just the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised if we stretch beyond that. That depends. Or do you throw Jarrell Brantley out there for 5 possessions and have him guard Luka Doncic for 5 possessions, just really big and physically and strong, if that's who you're matching up against. I mean, he's got the unique body there. But, Mia, from about the 40th game on to close out the season, shot 34% from the floor, had 31% from 3, and I think averaged about a foul every 4 minutes. It's hard. What he has to do is hard. I'm not, trying to play very few minutes. And if I actually shrink that sample size down even more recently and take it to the last 25 games of the year, I think it's actually, I think he shot in the last 20 games of the year, he shot about 32% from 3 or 32% from the field, about 28% from 3. And I think he had a foul a little less than that foul rate kind of happened in the middle. So I would suspect we actually just reduce the rotation down, but it's a good question. Let's keep rolling through the questions before we wrap up the show. We're pretty close to wrapping up the show, though. Does Denver have a shot against Phoenix? Denver has Nikola Jokic, and unbelievable heart. So, yes, Jokic is just amazing. And so we'll see what he has to say. Did you get Boone his Grip 6 belt? What's this everybody giving Boone stuff? I have not got him his Grip 6 belt. I'll have to talk to Q over at Grip 6 and see if we can get him his Grip 6 belt. I'm not an expert, but why not start Trent Forrest if Mike can't go? Obviously, he won't play a ton of minutes, but you still can bring Ingles off the bench. No. One, Trent Forrest is a nice player, but this is playoffs. And two, if you don't start Joe in that setting, I think you lose Joe. For all the talk of I don't mind if I start, players deeply, deeply care if we start. So I think so. Tom says, we got Dallas and the Clippers covered in a 7-game series with home court. I'm worried about the Suns, though. Suns and Brooklyn. Are you predicting that as the finals? Donovan says, I like your radio broadcast. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's very nice of you. Suns scare me more than Lakers would have in the Western Conference Finals, assuming we make it there, says Tyler. Well, if the Lakers, here's the thing I said about the Lakers the whole time. I thought we might play them in the first round. They scared me more in the Western Conference Finals because it meant they were right and they had gotten there than they would scare me early. I have no idea why the Clippers did what the Clippers did. The Clippers ducking out of playing the chance of playing the Lakers in the first round when the Lakers were their most injured was the weirdest sign from a franchise to me. They weren't trying to win a championship at that point. They were just trying to advance as many rounds as they possibly could and have someone else knock out the champion. Like, to me, that was a really weird, kind of move by a franchise that's supposed to be the best team in the league. That did not make a lot of sense to me at all. Final one, full capacity at Vivint's a huge advantage. We need to take a home court. Yes, we will have a full house across the way. Chris says he loves his Grip 6 belt. Repeated that. And I think that's about and let's leave on this note. To be fair, Boone carries the broadcast. That is the most truthful comment. Oh, wait, one other question. Have I given some Built Bars to Boone? I mean, we're just taking care of Ron Boone today, like we should. Love it. You guys are the best. Thanks for being a part of the Locked On Jazz community. The Jazz, if we play a game Sunday, I'll try to get out a preview edition if I have my prep done. It will probably be posted at like midnight Saturday. Like, once that game's done tonight, I'll start prepping and get as much done as I can. So we will try to see what I can do in that. So we'll have a special show for you. This is Locked On Jazz, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Right now, go listen to Locked On Today. It's fabulous. Please go listen to Locked On Today.